Hello, Rachel. Hello, Janine. We are
Hi, everybody.
really lucky. We get Janine twice in a week, don't we, Rachel? This is a treat.
It massively is, absolutely. We're in heaven.
Really is a treat. And I understand it's still as hot where you are, Janine.
Oh, I have my feet on one of those little ice packs that you put in the fridge to take in your cooler later. Yeah, my feet are sitting on it, bare feet. Yeah, necessary. Yeah. I'll get that for next time.
It's funny, over here we're not having our 3 weeks of summer is gone and it's not looking like coming back. My basil plants don't appreciate it, Rachel. The basil plants are finding it a bit cold, but I shouldn't complain because the animals like this temperature, so they're a lot happier. So yeah, but I actually, Janine, just to make you feel better, I actually had a hot water bottle in bed last night. So if you want to send a little bit of the heat over, do feel free.
Yes, please do. Absolutely. Well, Catherine's had loads of rain. I haven't had loads of rain at all. So yeah, lots of rain would be better. Either that or loads of sunshine.
Yeah.
We don't have any rain, I'll tell you. We're getting tinderbox, like really dry. It's so dry here anyway. And any second now, we're going to have the forest fires going all around. This happens often. And that's going to be a little scary. Smelly too.
Isn't that the same as California at the moment as well? Yeah.
And sometimes even California fires start, you can smell them here sometime, not yet, but I've been hearing that they're ramping up. Also Arizona.
Oh, wow.
Has been going for a while. Even Mount Shasta, I heard, which is, I think Michael Jaco lives there.
Yeah.
And partner, and I'm not sure if he has a family, but he lives there anyway. And that's pretty scary.
Yeah, hugely. I was sorry.
Everyone always, by the way, I'm just going to say, I heard JC saying this today. Everyone always thinks when we do these interviews, we're talking over each other, but we keep explaining Zoom when we're in different connection. There's a delay, so we all think the other person stopped talking. So what you're seeing is we're not actually being really rude and talking over each other. It's just a delay. So we think the other person stopped, and then we all start together. Carry on, Rachel.
Yeah, no. We're all very polite, generally, actually. We're all very likable people, aren't we, Janine?
Yeah, absolutely.
That was the best comment about last night. But what I was going to say is that in, was it 2017, 2018? I was in LA and yeah, you could see all these fires that had been started, the what was it? The cars were burnt down, but the trees right next to them weren't.
Yes, very interesting.
All that nonsense, it's
energy type directed at. Yeah, pretty interesting.
And also, I feel so sorry for the wild animals because they really struggle to get water and cold and everything. So if anyone's in these hot areas, don't forget to put some water out for the animals. So much happening at the moment. It's almost where we're going to start. But my first question tonight, just to get us kicking off, it's something I really want to know genuinely. Janine, did dinosaurs really exist?
Love it. Yeah. You think that's a big giant psyop or what? What are you thinking?
Well, I'm wondering because everything we've been told is turned on its head, and a lot of people use the extinction of the dinosaurs towards the global warming agenda.
Yeah, they did because that's a big yes. That was the very first card, and they're left the Earth plane. But it's a mystery what happened to them. So maybe what happened to them, maybe that part's a mystery. Yeah, we don't know a lot of what happened. There's a whole bunch of secrets around what really happened. With that card. They're hanging on to real information. So how they left might have been different. But they left, like they went extinct or disappeared off the Earth plane, or who knows what happened to them. But this card's like they're definitely off the Earth plane.
So they're not on Agartha then?
Well, they might be somewhere else in the universe. Because whatever we've been told about how they left, it looks like it's not true. That part's not true, but them being here is absolutely true. Otherworldlies might have had something to do with some of this, because this is off-worlders now. Nowadays, that's how that card comes up. The Empress and the Empress. I think we're going to find out in the next coming year. We're going to find out some truths around that. I think we're going to know at least some of what happened here. I don't think I don't think they left, they didn't go extinct, like I think what they tell us they did. I don't get that. I get they might have been taken and or somehow they're still alive somewhere else. This is very weird. You know, there are secret places in the world that nobody gets to go to, or we've been told don't exist, or there's big chunks of world that hasn't been explored and we're not even told about, and is wiped off Google Maps, for instance. And you know what I mean? There's a bunch of mysteries. I wonder if it's in a whole nother part of the world that we're not even, because I get they actually exist somewhere. Alive well somewhere. Yeah. So but they're not either in our dimension. That's one way you could read that, or not in our reality, let's just say. So they're not in our sort of the way we see things in what we call the earth right now. So yeah.
It's just like unicorns, isn't it?
Yeah, it might be with the unicorns. Hope they're not eating them. I was just thinking, Janine and Rachel, that it would be absolutely fantastic. So with these tribunals that are meant to be happening, did any of you see the film Jurassic Park?
Yeah.
So wouldn't it be fun if everyone who's found guilty in a tribunal got put in the big raptor pen that they had at Jurassic Park?
Yeah.
I just think that would be brilliant. Anyway.
Might be a bit too quick, really.
Well, I don't know. They'd try and hide, but they wouldn't be able to.
Speaking of tribunals, it was interesting. Did you guys see David Rodriguez's conversation with, who's that guy, Robert Steele?
No, I didn't.
Okay, a lot of people wrote me, they were all up in arms because Robert Steele, and a lot of people find him iffy, like he might be on the dark side or whatever. David Rodriguez got kind of upset, which he often does anyway. He's kind of like lives really right on the edge, that guy. He's funny. I like him. Anyway, Robert was saying, he keeps using this phrase, something about people coming forward and being forgiven, but I can't remember the phrase now exactly. But really what he's talking about is dark culters, if they come forward and say they're sorry, basically, they should, like, there should be a forgiveness after they confess or whatever. And it's like, what? Mm-hmm. Right? You're going to buy that, A, and B, that is just not, doesn't sound like a just situation for people that do the things they're known to do. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's like, no way. And so tribunals, I'm all for them. I mean, I'm sorry, but that they need to be looked into and taken care of, and so they can never do stuff that they've been up to. It's just horrifying. Yeah, literally not human things that they're doing to other humans.
Yeah, I don't understand. I mean, I wouldn't even want to go there, really. You know, the atrocities that is happening in the world, you know, right to this day.
Yeah.
I think we see it, you know, the sad thing is, from my perspective, I'm really not surprised, because when I see the consciousness of how humans treat animals, then it's a very close step between, you know, people can remove them. But it's an interesting one. I've been thinking a lot about that, Janine, recently, and thinking about the mind control, the people who've been sort of MK Ultra'd and mind controlled. And because you see a lot of the celebrities slipping in and out of it, don't you? And I suppose it's been so in the news this week. I had a really weird dream about it because of poor old Britney Spears. And you think about people like that who right from birth have been in the mind control thing from a small child. And there's going to be some tough decisions there, aren't there? In terms of, I suppose it's like in a court of law, in terms of if you can prove someone's insane or not, if you can prove someone was under the influence of mind control and not able to make free will.
Mhm.
I'm just really pleased I'm not one of the ones having to make these decisions.
Yeah, I did get that a lot of the people that were born into it were getting taken somewhere else
Mm,
and being processed in a different way. And it wasn't like, it felt like either the moon or some other planet, off planet anyway. And
yeah.
it felt like they were, yeah, there was like healing available, and depending on, you know,
Mm.
how they were behaving, I guess they were being treated differently, and that makes me happy, because when I do read around people like Britney Spears, I really feel for her.
Yeah.
My soul just cries for somebody like that. I mean, she's didn't really stand a chance.
No.
Neither, lots of them, a whole bunch of them didn't stand a chance.
Mm.
Crazy.
That's really good news. Thank you. I'm really excited about the dinosaurs. We might be seeing them again soon.
Wow.
Unicorns. You can have the dinosaurs, I'll have the unicorns.
Yeah.
Okay, in the 1940s, Janine, now, obviously, well, I don't know if it's even true, the Germans apparently won the Second World War. But there are rumours that they made connection with the off-worlders, whatever we call them, you know, yeah. I don't know if we have to censor that part as well, aliens or something. But I was just wondering, were they nefarious naughties, off-worlders,
Okay,
potentially?
did you say Germans won the Second World War?
Yeah.
That's what everyone's saying. So, Pat, could we ask that? Do you want to ask that first, Rachel?
That's really weird. Okay, so how does that story go? So that it's big psyop that we won, and or we being the rest of the world, that they were actually, well, because in a way that would make sense, because they ended up all in the US in secret space programs, etc.
Well, also in the you know, the off worlds in which we don't, or not off worlds, off lands, from whether we call it a planet or a spaceship or a bowl or a I don't know what to call it anymore. It's that yeah, I went online for a recipe and 6 hours later the world was flat.
Wow. Oh yeah, that's just, yeah, I'm not even going there yet. It's like, no, thanks. I touched on that a little tiny bit, and it was so confusing, even spiritually. It doesn't feel like it's flat or round at
No,
this point.
exactly. That's what I call it. I
Yeah,
kind of
there's
call it a
something
bowl.
going on, but it's different than we think, for sure. Okay, so we've got the 5 and so okay, I don't know if I don't know if they won, or I think some agreements were made, and everybody at that time in charge of all the countries were bad,
Yeah.
is what I'm getting. So they were all in cahoots together with something, is what I get. They were all in cahoots together. So there was all kinds of confusing things. Who you think were the good guys were probably, everybody was doing dual double agenting going on here like crazy. So it wasn't anything like we thought it was. Okay.
Wow.
And so your question was, did they connect with off-worlders, like it's been said?
Because apparently they then had the capability of spaceships.
I feel like they had already been in cahoots with some off-worlders. Those are really exotic beings. There's an exoticness to that. They already had a group with them, and might have even been helping them with some of their maneuvers all throughout that, what we called a war.
Wow.
Oh, they were absolutely are absolutely bad off-worlders, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fascinating, hey? Yeah, they were just out for their own gain, those off-worlders. They weren't on the side of what appeared to be German, because all of it looks like our whole history is wrong.
Yeah.
So they weren't on the side of that, or they were on the side of keeping protecting a deal they had to take humans
Yeah.
is what it looks
Okay.
like. They were on the side of protecting their interests in humans as their farm animals. It looks like pretty much what we farm animals like. That's what they're doing.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, because the naughties were then underground. The off-worlders.
Yeah.
And they'd agreed to give them X amount of children, adults, meat.
Unbelievable. And experimentation I get.
Oh, wow.
Wow. I think that dam, Hoover Dam, has a lot to do with stuff like that. I feel like that might be a place they launch off from and or come and go from.
Wow.
That could be a vortex of a movement vortex, that Hoover Dam. That's why it's so locked down or whatever.
Hoover Dam.
That's in the US. And it's long been, in fact, a lot of people thought, you know, the movie about that aqua creature. I can't remember what the movie was called. It was an off-world creature that was sort of an Aquaman type. And the woman fell in love with, I can't remember the name of that movie. It wasn't that long ago, but apparently that's sort of based on a true story. And that aqua creature or off-worlder that was sort of an underwater creature was kept there or something, right? So who knows at this point what's like, it seems like that was a true story, apparently.
I'm going to have a movie take because I've never watched any movie. So what we'll do is Rachel and I will fly over on our unicorns, if that's okay, Janine, and we'll have a movie weekend.
Let's watch all the movies with new eyes.
Wouldn't that be amazing? I feel like taking a week off work and actually doing it because I think it would be so useful. So send in your suggestions, people. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, there's some scary ones as well because they've been programming us for so long.
Yeah.
There was one that my partner was watching yesterday, and this woman was inserting the connection into the computer, and then she was dialoguing into the computer, and I just thought, oh, yeah, seriously.
Oh, I know. They've been showing us what they're up to blatantly.
Yeah. It's totally normal.
Yeah.
Oh, scary. Yeah.
Luckily, we're also normal.
Oh, how bizarre! What a funny start to the day.
Yeah.
So my next question, and this comes from my lovely friend Susie. So thanks for this, Susie. So ley lines and the geomagnetic lines, have they been tampered with recently, or is Mother Nature more in control than we hope? So, because there's a lot of things happening around ley lines and a lot of important meetings happening on important energetic lines or ley lines. Or has Mother Nature got our back still?
Serco created their time machines on the ley lines, didn't they?
Yeah.
Okay, this is interesting. So ley lines are energetically really positive, whether they're used. So obviously people tap into them for the bad, but they're actually really positive because that's a really empowered and positive and feminine energy kind of card. So Mother Earth kind of. And there's a lot of secrets around them, and even bad guys don't know really some of these secrets. So Mother Nature, as you call her, energetically keeps her own secrets around things like that, and withholds a lot of the energy that's actually available. The bad guys don't know how to tap into it.
Wow.
So there's a whole lot of things. So they know where to go and everything, but they're not getting the energy. Like Mother Nature withholds, it looks like she withholds it. So interesting. So people always forget, everything's saying she holds on to it, so they're not really able to. So they want to and everything, but unless you go with good intention, like think about because I get what we're forgetting maybe, or we're not on this show, we're not, and our viewers are not likely forgetting, but what some people might be forgetting is that energy, Mother Nature, or the ley lines, that kind of energy has a consciousness too. There's a consciousness to it, and it's a consciousness that's for humans. It's part of our power if we tap into it. So if we learn or we go with good intentions, we can tap into it. It's like that the story of the guy that pulls the knife out. I can't remember, Lancelot or something.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly what I'm talking about, but you guys know what I'm talking about, right? The Knights of the Round Table kind of stories. Okay. So usually you have to have pure energy or good intention, you know, to get things to happen in those kind of myths, right? Okay, those aren't myths, maybe. I think if evil intent's trying to tap into nature's energy, it could backfire. And I think it has been a lot lately.
That is absolutely brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the loveliest news ever, isn't it? I mean, things like the shoes that we buy, they're all plastic so that we don't connect with the earth any longer. You know, the way in which we do everything, you know, build up ourselves in houses, staying as far away as possible, you know, don't be dirty, you know, don't go, you know, playing with the mud, or don't eat the mud. But yeah, it's topsy-turvy world, isn't it?
Yeah, I lived on the Haida Gwaii for 9 years, and I literally lived in like little handmade shacks, a whole series of them. For the first 3 months, I was in a tent with my 6-month-old when I first got there. She learned how to walk on the beach on the Haida Gwaii. Her name's Raven, and I was sent there. Okay, I named my daughter. I was living in Calgary, and I didn't even know who the Haida or what the Haida Gwaii was. Nor did I know about the Haida people. Okay, not this lifetime. Apparently, I was a past life Haida. So I was told once I got there by a medicine man. So all of a sudden, my brother was there picking mushrooms. They have these very magical mushrooms. Well, they're not those kind of magical mushrooms, although they got those too. They got those too, but not so much of an abundance. But they have chanterelles, which, by the way, Britons love the chanterelles. They shipped a lot of them to Britain, actually. Apparently the Queen really liked the chanterelles from the Haida Gwaii. But anyway, so they had this huge mushroom picking season. My brother got in on it. This was in 91. Okay. So he's picking mushrooms there. He's my magical, spiritual, soul-mated brother. I've been lifetimes hanging out with that guy in various different capacities, but this lifetime we're brother and sister. He phoned me on my birthday. So I had just turned 31 right after my daughter was born. And so it would have been May 1st around that time. And he phoned me and he said, you got to come here. I had a big spiritual message in essence, and you'd love it here. You'd absolutely. And I was like, where's here? Right. And he's like, oh, the Haida Gwaii, the Queen Charlotte Islands, Canada, blah, blah. So I'm in Calgary and I had no idea where that was. So I told Raven's dad at the time, okay, we're moving our whole family to the Haida Gwaii. Let's sell everything we do. And he, crazy guy, went along with it. Okay. I thank him for that. A little bit of argument, but went along. And so we literally sold everything. And within 6 weeks, it could have been even 3 weeks, we were in a truck that we'd bought with the money. So a 74 Ford King Cab. And we were headed to the Haida Gwaii with a dog, a child in the middle. So a 6-month-old baby, and a cat who was pregnant. We didn't know was pregnant, and had babies actually on the ferry. So anyway, and we had the rest of our belongings, and we had no idea what we were going to do, in the back of the truck. Okay, so off we go, and we got a daughter that I just for some reason had to name Raven. Okay. So turns out the Haida Gwaii is full of ravens, literally huge amount of population of ravens and eagles, bald eagles, huge amount, like incredible place, magical place. And there's two groups of people. There's the ravens, the Haida ravens. So the Haida people, they make the totem poles. They make beautiful silver jewelry like what I wear. They're so incredible carving. They're beautiful artists, fascinating, powerful warrior type peoples. They were never colonized and or put on reserves because they said no. They were like, no.
Yeah.
Okay. And anyway, so and they're very much like sort of something like Polynesian in a way, because if you look up where the Haida Gwaii is, there's a strait that goes right across to Hawaii, and they had boats that could go to Hawaii and Japan from there. So they're absolutely fascinating people. So you should look them up, you guys. And I loved living amongst them, and I was honored to be even allowed to. It was the biggest privilege of my life, and I go back there whenever I can. But anyway, so my daughter, so we land on the Haida Gwaii, and I lived in shacks so close to earth for those years. It was the best years of my life. I had zero money. Okay. I was just mostly trading. My readings, I would trade on the beach, but I was eating like hundreds of dollars worth of halibuts. Some people would trade me halibut, fresh caught. Some people would trade me salmon. Some people would, like, I was known as the reader on the Haida Gwaii for many years. I was the only one reading there. Then some other people moved on island who were also readers. And I used to teach lessons. So some of those people started reading. So yeah, lots of magic going on, but it was the most magical time in my whole life. And I, being that close to nature, and every day was just how to survive in nature kind of thing. It was the best thing in the whole world. We were on wood heat, and you know, you could do that. You couldn't do that in Calgary because, well, it'd be really hard to. Let's just, because it gets way too cold. But the Haida Gwaii never really goes past 10 Celsius.
Wow.
10 below. So that you could survive on wood heat, which we did.
It probably would be illegal. I mean, they're trying to illegalize wood burners in this country because of health and safety and insurance. So, let's get you all on the most expensive.
Actually, emissions, Rachel. It's actually because of the emissions, they say. Which is ludicrous, because as if nature were to put a resource out there that's safer than something you've got to drill right into the ground. And God.
There's ways.
It's just amazing. I spent a lot of time living in right out in nature, what we do, and it's just amazing. You can't beat it, can you?
Like that little stove you got back there in your picture there.
Yeah, that's my wood burning stove. Yeah, and that's heat in here, and we've got, you know, open fire in the in the house as well. And it's just fantastic. I love it. And they're just the smell of it and just the connection and everything as well. But we always give thanks for all the wood we collect. We always really thank the wood for letting us have it, you know. So I think that's quite important. Well, that's amazing, right, Janine?
Sorry, it's something to do with the delay, I think.
Yeah,
but it's maybe we should meet there.
Yes.
I absolutely, like, my next on my list of things to do is to get a stacked log home built on. There's a certain spot that I want in what they call sand spit, which is a really weird name, but anyway, that's what they call it. And it's one of the islands within the islands. And that's where I spent my most magical time. And I had wonderful neighbors. Wonderful, particular Reme Gautier, who like taught me how to really know myself, like in some of the most incredible people living there. It's most spiritual experience. And it was all like living close to the earth, like you said. It was absolutely magic.
Yeah, and it is. And I think it's incredible what you just brought out in the cards just there, that, you know, it is Mother Nature looking after us, and she's there when we need her. You know, I think most of the human race have no idea.
They forgot. So unless they get an experience like that, like, and I'm so glad I said yes. And I'm super stubborn. So I was going whether Raven's dad was coming or not. So he came along, you know what I mean? And I'm thankful for that because, you know, of course he wanted to be close to his daughter. Wow, it was like literally the most magical thing ever that happened to me. And my daughter is super interesting, fascinating, magical, and her writing is incredible because she never had TV or we never had anything except just these little shacks. Like, we'd go to the thrift store. There was one thrift store on the island. She'd get to exchange a bag of toys. So we'd bring them home and wash them and tidy them up. And then every couple of months, I'd pack up the ones she wasn't playing with, and then we'd go change those for another bag of toys, right? So she literally just mostly played with sticks and things on the beach. Like, she's truly a magical being because of that, and her art really shows it too.
Wow.
It's such a beautiful thing, because when you're passing on, you know, there's so much that love that goes into a toy that a child plays with. So when you're passing that from one child to another, you're passing that vibration on as well. I hate this disposable society now where everything is, because, you know, it's just wonderful, and children They don't mind that it's secondhand. They don't mind at all.
They prefer the wrapping paper, actually.
Yes, like cats.
I've forgotten where we are. Did you ask
Your turn. Yeah, your turn.
Is it my turn? Okay, so I've been dying to ask this question, and it aligns with so other mediums. So specifically, Garly Lucy was talking about August, September, all the way through to February. The truth will be revealed to the masses, and I'm just wondering about the energetics for that, because I watched your reading on July and I was like, no, we're still going to have to wait a bit longer potentially.
It's moving though. It's already been released. So much of it's already available. So it could happen faster, by the way, by this card's really good news. So it depends on a whole bunch of things. So that this card's like, there's a whole bunch of things they're juggling or up in the air or hidden things that depending on how that works out and that works out and that goes, okay, it could be faster than that actually. Yeah. So just know, here's the good news overview, that you are going to find out the truth. So yes, you're going to find out the truth. People will, and this is like a victory for the human race. In the next year, we're going to all know a huge victory has been won, and hard won. And after thousands of years of literally being in an enslaved race. So that's the good news. So if we just stay and don't worry about it's already coming out. Things are coming out, and it's it's just going to keep going. It'll landslide at certain times. I think it's as fast as people can digest it, frankly. I mean, if there's even parts of the world we don't even know about, and remember, Rachel, you asked about this, didn't you? Where we discovered in one of the things, our Wednesday chats, that there was all of these patches, and we just confirmed that today. There's these maybe thousands and thousands and maybe hundreds of thousands of miles of earth that's kept from us. Yeah. We're not even allowed to go to a certain place in the world that could be the gateway to that land or something. That's probably part of what they're hiding there. You know what I mean? So many things are hidden from us, and all our governments have been corrupt for literally, like, since I think governments were created. Frankly, I think they were created to corrupt and abuse humanity, frankly. So, because likely the 13 families are behind. They were behind all the banking. You better believe they're definitely behind large organized religions. So you can be sure they're behind all governments. So, you know what I mean? And that's not to say we're not going to get through this and come out the other side. And I think a lot of those governments have fallen already in the background. Just to be clear, if somebody hasn't been watching these shows, I believe that's all already, there's a shadow government. Used to be that the deep state was the shadow government, and that was really what was running things. Now I think that got flipped. And I think Mr. T and the white hats are the shadow government. And I believe that my cards back it up. I really believe it. So, I think this is all going to change, but it's important to know about it. And I think we're going to know in the next year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think energetically, it's not what we see on the outset, because they're trying to wake up as many people as possible. But if they were or had stayed in charge, I think 90% probably of the population of the whole planet would probably be dead.
Yeah. If any of these actual things had worked that they've been pulling, I think they would have already, depopulated our human race. I think is that a word? I think they would have already taken us out. I mean, the fact that we're hearing all of these plans, but none of them are working out, that's a good sign, people. That's a good sign.
Yeah.
Time to just say, no, you're not doing that. Yeah. Even if you know it's part of the movie, say no anyway. Like tomorrow, July 1st, everything's taken off. And if any place tries telling me I can't walk in there without a mask, if anybody tries to keep it, I have a whole conversation I'm going to have. And I'm also going to rat them out on my Sending Ravens and tell all the Calgarians, okay, don't go here, here, and here, because they're actually still hanging on to the draconian virtue signaling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and I'll be ratting them out, and I'm going to tell them that. I'm going to say, I got 70 or 80,000 subscribers on one channel and 40 on another 40,000. And guess what? I'm going to tell them all about you guys.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I'll do my part in absolutely ratting out anybody who tries to enforce things that's already we've been absolutely treated badly with, right? So if anybody tries pulling that, I'm going to talk about it.
I mean, it is also quite exciting, you know, that the flapper passports are not going to come in, you know, and that's another fear mongering side of things.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a made up word again.
Yeah. Yeah. And for all those people
say that, Rachel, but we're being told publicly they're not going to come in. But just before this show, someone messaged me and said their husband to go to the football. Let me get this right. To go to the football at Wembley. I'm just looking, I'm not being rude. I'm just making sure I get the facts right. They have got to have one of those passports to get in.
Nope.
Now, so even this is what I'm finding confusing. So just told me that you have to have to download the NHS track and trade app and upload all your lateral flow test results just to go and watch the football match at Wembley next week.
Okay, this is like, so don't forget that who's making these rules are either, and now I'm going to sound crazy again, but cloned people and or doubles and or puppeted people. So people that have, don't forget that Mr. T came in and everybody, including the Queen and Firm gang, okay, capitulated. Okay, so let's not forget that. That's actually true. Okay, so there's a shadow government. So everybody's doing these things and making these rules and none of it's going to stick. Okay, that's what I've been getting. So we need to stay focused. If you don't want that to happen, don't assume it will. So this card's like a big, huge story to get everybody worried that could happen. And if you don't want it to happen, absolutely. So don't go to the game. Think about it. Stay away from Wimbledon if they're going to be like that.
No, I know, but these people aren't awake. So they're
okay.
quite happily to go along with it. The wife's awake, but the husband isn't. And it is a fact. Like if you want to get on a plane, you cannot get on a plane without the test results. You just can't get on one.
Yeah, but I got a feeling, what I guess I'm saying is it's going to get better. They're going to have to drop them. Because this card's too good in the near future it doesn't, all of this, it says, is to scare the heck. This card, if you look it up, this person is worrying about something that's not going to happen. So it's a whole bunch of fears that actually are wasting our time. So the whole thing is to teach you not to fear. Go boldly forward and say, you know what? No way would the universe support this. It's absolute mayhem. They would never support that thing that leaked in the UK. And I just talked about that on Tarot by Janine. In what universe could the UK get locked down and put up with it for the rest of our lives? Does that make any sense? So, nobody ever goes to a restaurant ever again, blah, 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 and you have to wear a mask for the rest of your life. And are you kidding me? Are you going to tolerate that? Of course you're not. Okay, so those things being leaked, I really always get, they're not going to hold, you guys. They're not.
Yeah, I think quite a lot of people have said on the legal side of thing that was definitely a fake.
It's not going to hold. Yeah. So you gotta chill, like, don't get fearful. They want you to get fearful. That's the whole plan. And let's not.
And also, I think a lot of these sports are nefarious in the first place.
Yeah. Like, let them go to if they want to be. I would never go to a place like that if that's what they're saying.
Exactly.
I'd say, you know what? Let them lose money.
I think the frustration is we know that we wouldn't, but the frustration is the vast majority of the public. So there's all these things come out this week on loads of different shows, saying that we've reached the critical tipping point of awakening.
Yeah.
But the results don't, and then everyone in their day-to-day life is seeing people that don't see, that 99% of the people they're interacting with don't see anything wrong with being asked to do that. And I think that's a frustration, is the fact that a lot of people still think that's perfectly fine to do it. Doesn't matter.
Okay, that's what I looked at today.
Oh, did you? Oh, good.
And what I got was, and this was a surprise to me, and I was so happy. So I'm going to share it. And honestly, I really hope I'm right about this, but if you feel what I'm saying, you're going to feel that I might be right about this. Okay. What it said was, what the cards were saying was, it's on the unconscious level that they've been working us, the good guys, with all of this stuff. And on an unconscious level, people, the level of knowing is rising, and that just one little incident will tip a whole bunch of sleepers over to, it's like literally called the tipping point for a reason. There's unconsciously a huge rise. I've actually have been reached out to by a couple of friends that about a year ago didn't want to talk to me because of my, and I get it, right, whatever, because I wouldn't shush about my beliefs, and they didn't want to talk about that. Now they're reaching out. Okay, you know what I mean? Like, there's a tipping point happening on an unconscious level. Don't underestimate what these guys, so the good guys have been doing this programming, unprogramming us. Do not kid yourself. I even think some of that chemtrail stuff's to the good, not the bad. And a whole bunch of really good psychics and intuitives have been saying that. And you know what? We're probably right. If all of us are saying it, there's something about it. Okay. So I believe that that's going to tip over. And there's a whole bunch of people just about ready to go, okay, that's it. Because
they one big event, don't they, Janine? They need one reveal, one Lady Diana to come out.
Because they've been hearing it on some level.
Yeah.
Right. And it's all of a sudden gonna get like just tip them over, and they're gonna be okay, something's wrong here, because it's so obvious, right? But they're not admitting it, because they're just trying to deal. And then all of a sudden they find out they can't travel because of the thing. Instead of they got it to travel. Oh, and now a whole bunch of airlines tell them they can't travel because they got it. Okay, don't you think that's going to wake up a bunch of people? You know what I mean? There's just something's going to crack this wide open, and people are going to flood over to the other side. That's what I think. That's what I got.
I think it's this close, and even the people, they don't realize it. It's just going to take that one disclosure, and then it's going to flip.
Yeah.
Please, it's 1st of July tomorrow. Universe, feel free to me.
Yeah, feel free.
Yes. I've lost track now, Rachel. Who asked the last question?
I can't remember.
I don't know. You go next then.
Are you sure?
Yes, I can't remember at all. I'm getting so carried away with it all.
I'm sorry.
That's great.
I'm
That's
doing
great.
I'm doing all the chatting.
I'm trying to choose wisely with the time that we have. Okay, so you know those I'll have to say it cryptically because otherwise we'll get into trouble. But you know those two buildings. So they allegedly, graphics from Catherine. Allegedly it was to conceal, hide, and zip people's, I suppose, communication of the, are we allowed to say the, we can, Jasara kind of movement.
Oh, really?
Things.
Wow.
Yeah, it was to, if anyone ever ushered anything, they would,
Well, they are desperate to shush that. Yeah, I absolutely, every time I look at the cards, that's something that the dark culty side wants absolutely not to happen. That's their biggest fear. And I think it's already happened. So in some places they say it has. So that's interesting. But let's have a look.
To know if that is true, because if it is, then it's real. And
it looks like it's part of it for sure, because that card's about truth and integrity, and it's part of it. But there's a whole bunch of things going on there, and I looked really closely at it on several shows, and what we came up with, and this looks like it's, so yeah, the bad guy op, but good guy op at the same time. So bad guys did something, and then good guys did something from above to minimize the damage once they found out what the bad guys were doing to already. So there was one kind of crumbling, and then another thing that happened that powdered everything. That was the good guy stuff. So good guys and bad guys partook at the very same moment, just like in Texas, Nashville. Remember that Nashville thing where there was a trailer all rigged up, and then bad guys had this plan. Good guys found out about the plan.
Oh, yeah.
Aimed something at it. Yeah, same thing. Same thing happened with the building. So both simultaneously involved at the same time. So bad guys had their nefarious reasons for doing that. Good guys found out about the plan and utilized it, minimalized the damage by powdering everything. And because it was going to go down anyway, and probably cause more damage even. And then also there was some really big, deep, dark culty members in the building at the time. So that, that probably makes a lot of people mad, but we're in war.
Yeah.
We're in spiritual war and a human against, I think, demonic forces war. So yeah, things happen you don't like, but they minimalized the damage that way. But it's not something good guys want to brag about or anything, because that's going to make them, a lot of people won't like that. And that's why I think Juan O'Savin totally, you could even tell he was just totally making it up, but he was trying to tell everybody, oh, it was just, water damage in the building. And it's like, are you kidding?
Yeah.
If you listen to what he says, you think he's maybe crazy or just not that bright. And I know he's really, 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 really smart. So there's no way he believed what he was saying. He was just saying that to, okay, let's not talk about this.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's way more complicated. A whole bunch of stuff got done all at once there.
On a similar note, there's so much happening. Just going back to the financial thing, one thing I read just before we came online is in the UK and Ireland, there's a financial company called Provident, and they're closing and they've written off all the debts. So anyone that owes them any money, they've written off all the debts. And
I saw that
on the BBC. So, or did I see it on the BBC? No, I don't know. People were sending me loads of stuff just before the show, but that was really, really interesting because that's quite close to home. But this last week, one of our train stations in London, the Elephant and Castle, one of our very old famous train stations, there was a big fire. No one, touch wood, was killed, but it's weird, isn't it, Rachel, because there's this big fire which normally would be huge news, and it was on the news, but then it all went quiet and nothing was ever said about it again. So could we ask whether that is, first of all, is that a white hat or black hat operation, and is it to do with the underground tunnels?
Yep, what you said just there.
So white hat.
Yeah, white hat, and it had to do with some processing center that has children involved.
Yeah.
Well, Claire's gone very quiet.
Yeah, so of course they don't want to talk about it or put any attention over there. So they're clearing out, and I did lots of looking into it. I got it was a really complicated operation, and even surprised them. There was the stuff going on. They thought they had it cleared out. They had to go back in. Yeah, so there are a whole bunch of stuff. So of course they don't want anybody looking too closely at what happened there. Neither side does.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's really weird how complete radio silence about it was, really, wasn't it, Rachel? Really weird, because also, I mean, that area of London is so built up and so populated and so complicated. I mean, the logistics of doing these things are just unbelievable. They're not easy, that's for sure. Wow, so that's a really good sign then, isn't it? That's a white hat. That is a really good sign. That's big.
I'm going to ask another really weird one. But in terms of the Bible, so there was apparently 7 female disciples, and they were taken out of the Bible. I just wondered if it was actually, that is actually true. I think I briefly mentioned this yesterday. And there was apparently a chapter with the 15+2.
Yeah, so I can't say the word, the C word, but so deep state is the government area of this, dark cult is the C word of this. Okay, so those guys took out the strong, powerful women.
Wow.
Yep, you bet. And they took out almost 80% of any reference to strong, powerful women.
Wow.
So they literally cleared it up. Think about it. They all got together in that place. It was like the first Bilderberg meeting or something, kind of, right? So a whole bunch of guys, okay, that are connected to these families we've been talking about, heads of that, and maybe women in there too. I don't know, right? So, but a bunch of people that had nefarious things, plans for humans, okay, have been manipulating us. And that's, and I honestly, I'm just going to say this, and I know this will offend some people, but anyone who ever tries to tell me read the Bible, I say, no, thanks. Okay. It's been too manipulated. I've been saying that since I was a little girl. Anything that's that manipulated is absolutely not something I'm wasting my time looking at. I'd rather just ask the universe directly and not have somebody's, and I don't know who wrote that, but by now it's been so manipulated that if that's what you're basing your whole life on, and it's all about interpretation, then I'm not thinking you're that bright.
Well, it's also very scary. I used to get scared to death when my mother would read me the Old Testament, and that my, children that were being nasty to me would be burning in hell. And you just think, as a child, you don't need to hear that. I remember having nightmares after all that.
And it's all about interpretation too. It's like, who wrote it? Who rewrote it? How many times? Give me a break. No, thanks. Ask directly. Universe will tell you how things are.
Yeah.
And anyone who's ever been, I mean, a lot of things, I don't know if you have them over there, Janine, but in the UK over the last 20 years, book clubs are a big thing where a group of friends will get together and they'll all read the same book, and then you'll all meet up a few weeks later and discuss it. And I just find it absolutely brilliant. It's like, 100 people could watch this video, hopefully more, and everyone will hear something different because you'll hear or see at the level of your consciousness at that time. So I used to find it absolutely brilliant. And you'd all read this book and you'd all get something completely different out of it. And that's what life's like, isn't it? It's not so much in the words, it's how you interpret them and how you see them and how you feel them. So
well, there was also apparently a chapter of 15+2.
Wow.
I don't know enough about it. I really
Incredible.
I didn't concentrate in those lessons. So
that is it. I mean, but then the revelations, and I know you've done some shows with I'm trying to think of her name, that does the stars against.
Oh yeah, lovely. Yeah,
Mickey.
Yeah.
Amazing. But revelations in terms of the astrology and how it fits together, and absolutely fascinating, really is. But that's obviously one of the truthful parts that potentially has stayed. Wow. Ooh. So
last question for me. This is from one of my really lovely clients that I spoke to last night, Lisa, who I was speaking to her cat. Hi, Lisa. Now, this is really interesting, and it's a bit like, are the white hats in control in the UK? Because we have something called the GDPR, which is basically your personal data protection legislation. I think it's global. But most companies have to do training in it for their staff so that they can show that they're holding their clients' personal data securely. Now, this year, they have all had a new module introduced, and they've just done it now. Even though this law was in 2015, the Human Slavery Act, they've now had to include about that in their GDPR training, and it's completely new, even though this law has been there for a while. Now, in that training that they all have to do, and this is multiple companies, anyone who's handling data, it talks about child trafficking, It talks about 40 million children disappearing. It talks about organ harvesting. And suddenly all these companies are made to do that training. Now, is that part of the white hat disclosure?
Wow.
I know, I couldn't believe it when she told me, because I'm not in the corporate
incredible.
world anymore. She was blown away by it. She was like, my God, I've had to do this every year for the last 20 years. And now suddenly this is a module in it this year.
And it was helped along by Off-Worlders for the Good.
Wow.
So Off-Worlders for the Good, and it was snuck in there. It's absolutely a white hat.
Wow, that is massive, because that's going to be going to loads of people that aren't awake at all.
Yeah, it's going to help also with tribunals and give them more clout in rounding people up that have been involved, like high ups in the companies, cover ups, like what, you know, like think about it. If you were involved in a company like, say, Walmart, for instance, and you were covering up, so you were really high up in loading, say, those big things that go on cargo boats or whatever, evergreen canisters or whatever those things are. So say you were close to the operation enough to know something weird was going on that could have had something to do with captured humans. Okay, because really you couldn't help it getting close to that. You couldn't help knowing something weird's going on.
Yeah.
Okay. So, or you heard down the grapevine that somebody heard children crying or had to clean up human waste afterwards or something. And so it was obvious they had humans there. Okay. So that can't be covered up all the way, you know, that's going to be, people know.
They do.
Okay. So I have a feeling it looks like it's, so even the small end people that are foolish enough and not in touch with their souls enough to cover up for a company just because they want to keep their job. That's about as pathetic of an excuse. I'm sorry, but I would never, because every time I've ever left something on the basis of a principle, something way better happened for me. So if you're fearful enough to hold on to something and do crimes against humanity or cover them up, then you're going to deserve being in tribunals. Yep. Yeah. And that includes anybody pushing the you know what and anybody participating when they know better. Okay. So that's a lot of people, mid-range, even in companies and stuff that are doing foolish things and covering up for draconian measures that are obviously against humans' rights.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. I think they're putting things in place and those guys better take notice.
Gotcha.
Oh God, that was a deep one. It's amazing the snippets of this is why it's so brilliant, because you know people on the grassroots level are really noticing these things now.
Yeah.
You know, I would have, because I don't work for anyone else now, I would never have known that had she told me. And when she told me, we were just like, oh my God, that's unbelievable. Because when I did work for corporates, I had to do that training. And for that sort of thing to be mentioned in the UK and to be going out big scale is massive, isn't it, Rachel?
Huge. Absolutely. That's amazing.
Yeah. Never had that before. So that's a really positive sign. Thank you, Lisa.
I get tons of people writing me saying, oh, we had to do it because we didn't want to lose our job. It's like, lose the job.
Exactly.
You're going to work for a company that's crimes against humanity and or doing things that you clearly don't see to be integral, then down the road, your karma is going to catch up to you. I don't have any sympathy for that way of thinking, because every time I ever took a chance and trusted in my instinct and knew what was right and did the right thing and not the wrong thing, I would absolutely be rewarded. So that kind of fear will not be rewarded. You are not doing yourself a favor hanging on to a job that's doing something against all your intuitive knowing. Okay, you will. That is not going to work for you. Yeah. Those people are going down and you'll go down with them to some degree. So jump ship. If everybody just adhered to that and dropped like going to stupid functions because they won't let you because you don't, guess what? They'd stop doing that because they're all going to go broke. Are you kidding me?
Exactly. And that is the crux of it all. It's just like, you know, at some stage you've got to have your button pushed so much that you say absolutely no more. I had a funny instance today. Probably shouldn't say this on air, but I will anyway. So every time I go out, I will never use the track and trace thing. So if you don't use that, you have to put your name down. And I'm having such fun putting these ridiculous names down. It's really good. I've been everything. I've been Minnie Mouse. Yeah. I've been, and no one said it. And you're just like, oh, but it's quite good fun. But yeah, don't use those bloody track and trace, you idiots.
Yeah. Well, it's the same as kind of ordering from Amazon. I don't do that at all. It's using the banks. I've changed my banks. You know, it's all the little things as well in order to stop supporting.
Don't give them your money. That's all they care about anyway. So if everybody stops putting energy towards that in any way, including working for companies, like, you will find something better. I'm not kidding. You have to be brave. This is about humanity here. No lame excuses. No lame excuses. Yeah.
Brilliant.
The universe will take care of you if you're doing the right thing. That's always the way of the spiritual warrior.
Can I ask one more question?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay.
Before I melt.
Yes, poor Janine.
Oh, sorry. But yeah, I'm melting for a different reason. But you know, do you have the bank HSBC?
Yep.
Okay, so that is potentially going to be used apparently for these humanitarian projects, and that's my question. But it was apparently a double-edged sword. One was a honey trap in order to find the and to catch the nefarious people, but then on the other side, it was to then give to humanitarian projects. So there's two banks that I know of. Wells Fargo, I think, is one, and the other one was HSBC.
So what's the question?
So is it true that HSBC could potentially be used? Because when I heard that, I just thought something not quite right about this. But it may be a honey trap stroke.
Interesting. So it's basically saying you don't get to know that.
No.
Yeah, it doesn't want to tell us. We got all the wait and see cards. That's not something they want to let out. That's a protected thing.
Handbags.
I think it'll be known soon though, but I don't think we're supposed to spell it out here.
Interesting, but it's not a no either.
It's like I don't say yes or no, basically, is what the answer was.
It's a Juano Savin answer.
It's a Juano Savin answer.
Speak to you about that offline, Rachel. Yeah, I definitely need some info on that. Oh wow! Oh my God! It's all happening. It is all happening, everyone. There's a lot that's happened over the last couple of weeks, an awful lot. And is it July tomorrow?
Yeah,
1st. My son's 18th birthday. Yay.
God, have such a wonderful, wonderful birthday with your lovely, lovely son. That's such a special time.
Aww.
Yeah, thank you so much, ladies. Wow, we've covered so many different things, and I'll wait till next week to ask more questions on the Giants. So yeah.
Happy birthday to your lovely son.
Yeah, hope you have a lovely family day together. Thank you so much, and speak next week.
Okay.